SuperTalk Mississippi media production. Pike County, here comes your morning show. Dave in the morning on 93.5 FM, SuperTalk Mississippi.
So now, understand, you're not going to dictate to me what I do and what I don't do, but I'm still the mayor, Mr. Flamin.
None of this meeting is recorded. None by any parties. Correct?
No, sir, mine is recorded. I'm being accused.
Any contact.
Said I want to make it on record. I want the allegations in writing, party accused, or on recording of this harassment.
And now, here's your host, Dave Hughes.
Good morning to you. Something a little different, something you haven't seen for a while outside. A light cloud cover. Oh, don't worry. The sun will barge its way into our lives a little bit later. We'll wind up with a sunny day today, a sunny day tomorrow, and then Thursday, a chance of rain. Now, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. The usual disclaimers about that chance of rain Thursday. Got a 70% chance during the day on Thursday, 50% Thursday night, 40% Friday early, and then the rain goes away. We go back to sunny skies over the weekend, highs in the low 80s, lows in the low 60s. All of that sounds pretty normal, doesn't it? But let's talk about the burn ban for just a second. I don't care if when we wake up Thursday morning, it is pouring rain and it pours rain continuously all the way through until Friday morning. We get a solid 24 hours of rain. That's more than likely not going to be enough, even in that situation, to end the burn ban. Especially when you consider after this one little dot of precipitation, we go right back to sunny skies and dry weather. Don't get your hopes up. Also, and I say this because it seems like lately, every time we have this situation, last year was the same way, we get one dose of rain and everybody goes, oh, well, it's okay to start fires now. No, you little pyromaniac, it's not. It will be time to start fires when the burn ban is lifted. That will be a decision that comes from emergency personnel, first responders, civil defense, MEMA, those kind of people, National Weather Service. Not Uncle Roy, who woke up this morning and said, I feel it in my bones. Today's the day. I'm getting rid of that limb pile. No. That's how you burn down somebody's house. So let's set our expectations appropriately. Is it going to rain Thursday? Well, hopefully. If there's one other thing we've learned, weather forecast, maybe. But let's say it's not just accurate, it's over accurate, and we get more rain than they're expecting us to for one day. That's not enough. So just go ahead and put your thoughts, when you see that forecast, put your thoughts of, oh, the burn ban's going to be lifted, out of the way. We will get a massive amount of rain in a very short amount of time if we wind up with the burn ban being lifted. Because the ground is like a really, really dry sponge. The rain is going to hit it. It's going to, if you walk outside while it's raining, you will actually hear a light sucking sound. That's the ground just taking it all in and asking for more. So I wanted to make sure to establish that. Having said that, we may get some rain on Thursday. Starting to look like we're going to, at least briefly. Good. Boy, it is crispy crunchy out there. But this may not be the end of this. I don't want to call this a drought. Last year, we had a drought. This year, we're having a dry spell. I'm going to stick with dry spell until it goes for a while longer. Mainly because I don't like being negative. As you know, we are coming up on a momentous occasion, a turning point, an inflection point in the year that changes everything. And I'm talking, of course, about the fact that Saturday night the clocks fall back 1 hour. How do we keep having the discussion every year? We have legislation proposed every year that we're going to do away with this back and forth with the clock. And then nothing ever happens. How pathetically bound to traditions from hundreds of years ago are we? We've talked about it before, the reasoning and the reasons for why we started daylight savings time. Well, they're not as widely impactful as they were when we put that into place. The other part of that is, and this is why it's more noticeable now, because used to, when that was put into place, there was a large segment of the population got up when the sun came up, went to bed when the sun went down, about an hour later. So you got every hour of the daylight. They didn't care what time it was. So we put this into place to kind of try to keep the clock aligned a little bit better with sunrise and sunset. Now, everybody, I would say, that's not exactly accurate, but the vast majority of people get up when they have to get up and go to bed when they're finally able to. I know a lot of people who would absolutely love to be able to get up when the sun comes up and go to bed about an hour after it goes down. They don't have the time, they don't have the ability, and the world no longer works that way. So I still am firmly on the side of we don't need daylight savings time changes twice a year anymore. It's no longer serving the purpose for which it was designed. But if there's one thing we're good at, it's continuing on the same path because, it's fine. It's the way it's always been. If it was good enough for my great-grandparents, well, your great-grandparents also drove a horse and buggy to get food down at the market. Why aren't you doing that? Ultimately, it's not that important of a topic, admittedly. It just, to me, represents our inability to change, our lack of understanding that the world does not stay the same, has not stayed the same. It kind of goes hand in hand when you put it that way. Going with what Richard was talking about with Riley at the end of the Gallo show this morning, our inability to change things now involves everything, including brand new ideas, including the transgender issue, everything. Now, they will tell you, no, this is all about change. This is all about changing things. Yes, changing what it means to be a boy or a girl. That's kind of been established for a long time. Sunrise and sunset have been established for a long time. It's natural. You can't change it. You can't affect it. You can't fix it. No matter how hard you wish, sun's going to come up when the sun comes up. And daylight savings time at this point kind of smacks of trying to change the way nature works to better suit ourselves. Of course, now I could lead myself down the path of having a discussion about time is made up as well, but we're not going to go there because it's Tuesday morning. Nobody wants to get that deep into anything at this point. So we'll just move on. Mo's telling me here he was right last week. If you recall, last week he sent me a message and said that they were bringing in the hay, and then he figured it was only going to be about half what we had last year. It got worse. He said, I guessed right last week. Our hay only produced about half our normal yield, and if that's not bad enough, on the last day of baling, our hay baler caught fire. Holy cow. Mows. Number one, hope everybody's okay. Number two, sometimes it sucks to be right, doesn't it? Everybody looks at being right as the end-all be-all and the goal to achieve. Now, sometimes being right stinks hard. And there's not much you can do about it because you were right. So now you're stuck with it. Yeah. I hate that for you, buddy. And like I said, I hope everybody's okay. I hope everything works out. New hay baler incoming at some point. It'll have to. You got a minute at least. That's the good part, but still. But does that not exemplify everything right now in the way it feels? Chaos. Chaotic. Everything is going bonkers. Welcome to 1 week until an election. It affects everything. Because it affects everyone's mindset. It affects their perceptions. It affects the way they look at life. And if you look around and all you see is chaos, you start to feel a bit chaotic. That's just nature. Human nature. In disguises no one knows has the face. When we come back, I know you've probably heard about these stories from yesterday, but I want to make sure we take a quick look at this and explain why here in Mississippi we're not going to have this problem. I'm talking about burning ballot boxes. If you didn't hear about that, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our system here in Mississippi, the one everyone should be using, next. Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come? Stood a rain, cold and damp.
Hey, Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer, princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945. 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
Don't miss Dave in the morning, even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast, missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com, it's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon or Apple, or just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night. anytime you have to pray. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com and through your Alexa devices. Welcome back, Super Talk, Mississippi Pike County, 93.5. Tuesday morning, 7 days. 1 week from today, the polls will have already been open for a couple of hours at this point in the day. And you think things have been stupid and crazy up until now? Oh, just wait. We're just going to keep ramping up. If you're waiting for the lull, if you're waiting for the pre-election day pause to catch your breath, you got a week's worth of gasping to do. Probably more than that. Because I also don't see any universe, any reality where this is over next Tuesday night. Come on. When's the last time election day was over on election night? It's been a minute. You would probably have to go back to Clinton. Because, I mean, Bush and Gore went to the Supreme Court. We had hanging chads in Florida. That was over 20 years ago. We have now normalized things, which, by the way, is the goal, referring back to the transgender stuff and everything else. If you do something for long enough, eventually you reach the point to where an entire generation of people have never known it to be any other way. If you have someone who just reached the age of voting, who are going to vote in their first presidential election next week, they have never seen an election decided on election night. In their entire life, they have never experienced that. So they expect nothing else. That's part of the plan. If you just do something for long enough, eventually you reach the point where you've got an entire group, a decent-sized percentage of the population that doesn't know any other way for it to be. Which also goes back to daylight savings time. We always have a theme here on the show. I don't know if you've ever caught on to that. There's always a theme here on the show where everything kind of ties together. And most of what we're talking about today ties into the theme of doing things because we've always done them that way. We forget that's a relative term. If you're 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, the concept of having a presidential election year and that night knowing who won is pretty foreign. Because they've never experienced it. They've never seen it. When they were a little kid, they never saw their mom and dad go through an election night where we found out who won that night. So it becomes the new norm. And that's the goal with a lot of these things. It's not to change anybody's mind now. It's not to change things right now. That's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to hold on and keep pushing things and keep doing things a certain way until eventually you've done it for long enough that everyone decides it's normal. I don't see this talked about by either side. That's the entire thing. That's the entire focus on all of these issues. All of it is playing the long game. Well, when it comes to elections, we've had some changes over the last 10, 20 years. Focusing, and the pandemic helped this a lot, gave it a turbo boost of mailing in your ballots, dropping them off at a drop box, which I still have to question the intelligence behind that decision, so forth and so on. Well, we had two different instances Monday morning, early Monday morning, of ballot boxes being set on fire. Portland, Oregon, and right across the state line at Vancouver, Washington State. Several hundred ballots were destroyed, by the way. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I think it was 3:30 in Portland and 4 o'clock in Vancouver. They think it was the same person. They pulled up. They didn't put anything in the ballot box. They attached an incendiary device to the ballot box and set everything on fire. So, got apparently several hundred ballots destroyed. One of them, the one in Vancouver, Washington, the fire suppressant system kicked in, kind of took care of business, kind of took care of things. And I think it was only 3 that were messed up. The one in Portland, the estimate we got yesterday from officials was hundreds of ballots were destroyed. Well, this brings up several questions to me. Number one, I don't care how much security you have, how many fire suppressant things you have. What is the purpose of having a special box to drop off your ballot for the election? Do you not have a circuit clerk office? Do you not have the postal service at your house? No, we got to have a third option where we collect nothing but ballots in one place. Might as well paint a big bullseye on the side of the box. Personally, I can't think of any reason why this is a good idea. This is a decent thing to come up with. Well, that's just me, obviously. Here in Mississippi, as you know, we have things pretty well worked out. My friend Michael Watson, Secretary of State, has things humming along like a sewing machine when it comes to the election processes in the state of Mississippi. Seen a lot of ballot drop-off boxes? Right. You can get your absentee ballots. You can do affidavit ballots if you show up someplace and you're not registered to vote. But aside from that, you vote. Again, this is not a complicated process to understand. The polls open, you show up and vote, you go home, and you're done. But no, we have to have all of this complexity added into it because the more complex a process is, the easier it is to game. The easier it is for something to happen like, I don't know, somebody setting fire to the ballot boxes. It's been 48 hours since that happened, though, so I guess I'm just really pushing it for an example here. But again, the purpose is, well, in 20 years, that'll be the way it's always been. Specifically, that we have special boxes where you can go drop your ballot up to weeks ahead of the election, and sometimes they're set on fire. That's just the way the system works. Sometimes you can purposefully make very stupid changes. This does bring me back to one thing I do not understand. At what point we can solve several of these problems by taking voting online. Now, don't rise up before you say, oh, it's too easy to game. What happened 4 years ago? We don't have it. Please don't tell me it's going to be worse. The only difference is we will know on election night the results of the election. We will flat out know. Number two, paper ballots are more secure. You know, as long as they're not on fire. We're getting a great example this week already of how even that isn't as secure as everybody would like to think. And number three, to me, slightly misdirected priorities here. And here's why I say this. Yeah, Mo says having ballot boxes on public streets is problematic, but installing fire suppression systems in them takes the situation to an alarming level. Yes, because they were assuming somebody was going to try to set the ballot boxes on fire. That's the only reason you would make the decision to put an automatic fire suppression system in these things. The fire suppression system, it's automatic. It's when the temperature reaches a certain level, there is a pressurized capsule inside, and when it hits that level, that capsule pops and sprays a dry, fire retardant dust. It's not a foam, dust over everything, smothers the fire out. The one in Vancouver, Washington, they bragged on it. Like I said, there were only 3 that were destroyed, 3 ballots. The rest were all saved, and said that the system worked pretty good, worked really well. Portland, on the other hand, said that their fire suppression system didn't work well at all, and they're going to have to look at getting some other kind of system. But yes, that speaks very much the fact that they had those systems in place. They knew this was going to happen. But let's get back to taking voting online. Did you know that the state of Mississippi, and just about every place else, has an official app where you can store your driver's license? It comes from the state, it's secure, it's verified, all of that stuff. Other important information and documents tied to the state, or tied between the state and yourself, also available on there. So the internet is secure enough for that, to protect your driver's license number, but nothing else. Certainly not voting. Do any banking online? Pay any bills online? Do anything online? Because I'm sorry, this election has become quite clearly focused on one major thing. Well, there's about 200 major things in this election, but one of the big ones that I keep seeing people saying, and this has become a meme on TikTok. I see this all the time. Somebody walks in, I saw one just the other day. A young girl, upper 20s, looks like 30s, early 30s. Walks onto the camera, slams a bag down, takes her sunglasses off, looks directly at the camera and says, I just spent $500 on groceries and gas. I don't care if he's mean. Prices at the store, prices at the pump, your ability to survive on the money that you're getting paid. If you've ever done any kind of online banking, I'm sorry, whether or not you can pay your bills and feed your family, that's hugely important to your life. Your vote affects that 1,000,000%. It affects that. But it's not more important than whether or not they're going to turn the lights off this month and next month. We're going to do this again in 4 years. So I have trouble buying into the argument that transitioning voting over to an online system isn't secure enough. So you're saying it's going to be less secure than what we're doing now? Because that's the argument you have to make. We just had the thing in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County. They caught an operation going on up there. I don't know if you heard this story. They caught an operation, some organized group. They're trying to track down who it was. Lancaster County held a press conference with the district attorney and everybody else. So this is not hearsay. This is not secondhand information. And they said that there were a couple of other counties that were investigating the same kind of thing right up there around them. In the swing state, they were going out and they were registering people to vote. As they put it in the press conference, they were doing this in mall parking lots and shopping center parking lots and places like that. Hey, can I get you registered to vote? That kind of thing. Well, they were getting paid to do that. Well, thanks to a lot of problems with some of the registration forms after they were turned in. They were all turned in like a day or two before the deadline. You had duplicate signatures on a bunch of them, the same handwriting on a bunch of them. But, you know, you could figure, well, they had somebody who was in a hurry and they took it down for them. Okay, fine. No, they actually did their homework in this investigation. They went and talked to all of the people who supposedly registered. It's like a batch of 2,500 registrations up there. They went physically and talked to them face to face and said, hey, did you register to vote with a such and such organization? According to the district attorney of Lancaster County, out of the ones they had talked to, which was quite a bit already, over 60% of them said, no, I didn't sign up to vote. That's not me. So this is not hearsay. This is not scare tactics. This is not making something up to make a big deal out of it. They caught them. And it's not just there. Now, there are a lot of potential explanations for this. One of them, just nefarious bull trying to sway the election. Another one, I don't know. I haven't seen any details on this. If the company signing people up was getting paid per person they signed up, I can see them just making a bunch of stuff up to boost their paycheck. Groceries are expensive. I get that. So there's any number of explanations, none of them good, but there are plenty of explanations for how that kind of thing could happen. Having said that, you're going to look at that story, which again, they held that press conference on Friday. Yesterday morning early, like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 different ballot boxes full of ballots were set on fire. And you're going to look at me with a straight, serious face and tell me voting online isn't secure enough. Really? As opposed to what? Exactly. So I think we need to take a serious look at this. Well, there's a lot of challenges. It could be very easily hacked. So could your bank account. But we still seem to muddle through. We keep focusing on the method of casting ballots. That's not the problem. The problem is people are involved in the situation. Before computers, well, technically they had been invented, but they were enormous house-sized machines, and there were like 3 of them on the planet. You go all the way back to Kennedy's election in the 60s. 1960 to be exact. It was ballot box stuffing. That's come right out. That's verified. In Chicago. That's how he won. There were no voting machines. There were no computers. There were none of that. And still, people found a way to cheat. People are always going to find a way to cheat. Always. And if you think there's anything that can be done to stop that, you're not paying attention. Human beings stink. And I mean that with love in my heart. Because it's that mindset that has led to the majority of advancement in our civilization. I know the way we're supposed to do it, but there's going to be a better way than that. I can work my way around that. And bam, you look up and you've got the combination harvester. So I'm not knocking the basic impulse. What I am saying, though, is it is incredibly naive to think that any form of voting will ever approach 100% reliability. If you're going to trust something with your money, if you're going to trust something with your life, with pictures of your grandkids on Facebook, with all the mess going on in the world today, see those all the time. You're going to trust them with that, but oh, my ballot's too important. No, I think it's time to take a look at that. We can fix some problems. Will we have new problems? Of course. Have you met people? Human beings can mess up a nail with or without a hammer. Here's a piece of pointy metal. 10 minutes later, you're at the emergency room. I'm just saying we need to have that conversation. We need to open the discussion seriously, not immediately waving our hand and going, ah. That's what the 80-year-olds running the country in Washington, that's how they react. We didn't do that back in my day. Back in my day, we voted the appropriate way. If we couldn't make it to the courthouse, we flagged down the Pony Express boy and gave it to him. Go look up the age of the leaders of Congress and tell me I'm wrong. We continue on this Tuesday morning next.
Hey, Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer? Princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945. 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. Even when you miss it the first time, you can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Want to get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all around, it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the crave. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Weekday mornings at 6 after 9 on 93.5 FM, or you can catch up anytime by going to
SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Dave in the Morning at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. Catch up. and catch on. North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at supertalkpikecounty.com and through your Alexa devices. Welcome back, Super Talk, Mississippi Pike County, 93.5, Tuesday morning. Normally, on a Tuesday, I would be going over the agenda for that night's meeting or work session of the Macomb City Board of Mayor and Selectmen, but it is a fifth Tuesday. Nothing going on tonight. That will in no way stop people from chastising me tomorrow because I'm not talking about the board meeting. Happens every time. Board meetings by city charter happen on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. We do work sessions on the first and third Tuesday of the month. In a month with 5 Tuesdays, such as this month, at fifth Tuesday, everybody gets a day off. There's a break. Everybody gets to relax. I'm hoping everybody's at the beach right now. Well, maybe not exactly right now, but you know. So nothing going on with the city of Macomb tonight. There will be no board meeting coverage tomorrow. I don't have to try to make stuff up. I just get to report every week when they are there. One thing you may not have heard about yet, the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, issued a proclamation yesterday calling a special session of the state legislature right across the border. What, about 12 miles from where I'm sitting? This is going to be a doozy. Now, here are the stated purposes, because as you know, it's kind of like a special call meeting with municipal politics. A special session, they are only allowed to deal with the stated reasons for the special session being called. Well, this special session proclamation had 23 items on it, and there's some doozies. One of them, changing the tax system in the state. And I mean changing in a big way. He wants to reduce the income tax. That's always hugely unpopular. Yeah, right. He also wants to charge sales tax for more items and services. That word services should catch your attention. To make up for the difference in income tax, cutting that, they want to charge sales tax on more things. Also included in the proclamation, changing teacher pay, giving all the teachers a raise, and reworking some parts of the state court system and judge elections and things of that nature. It is a meaty special session call. They're calling it to start on November 6th. Next Wednesday, the day after the election. That's probably not a coincidence at all. And they say it could run until right before Thanksgiving. One side note I would like to put out. I'm looking at the actual official call, the document, the proclamation number 73 JML 2024. Jeff Landry's initials. I just love the terminology. Call and convene the legislature of Louisiana into extraordinary session. Well, you hope it'll be extraordinary. It'll definitely be special, no matter what. Some interesting stuff here. Wanting to change every kind of tax, basically, the various items in there. Rates, exemptions, deductions, reductions, credits, and incentives claimed against the corporation franchise tax. Wants to change corporate taxes. Several different items on that. Individual personal income tax. Rates, exemptions, deductions, reductions, credits, and incentives. In other words, nothing's off the table. This isn't looking specifically at credits. This is the whole thing. The entire deal. This is cool. Item number 7 on the proclamation, to increase the standard deduction applied against individual income tax for individuals 65 years of age or older. These are the kind of things that are included in these 23 items on this proclamation. There's going to be a lot of discussions going on. Now, for this to pass, the tax stuff, it's going to need a 2/3 majority in the Louisiana House and a 2/3 majority in the Louisiana Senate. Republicans have more than a 2/3 majority in both houses. That doesn't mean it's a lock. If we have learned nothing from Washington, D.C. from the last 2 years, having a majority of any party doesn't mean you're actually going to get anything done. Because then the fighting begins. Now, if they change anything, if they vote to change anything with the court systems, the way the state Supreme Court regulates disciplinary and ethics proceeding on judges, how elections to fill judicial vacancies are handled, if they try to change any of that, and they get their 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate, well, that's going to take a constitutional amendment, so then it'll have to go up for a vote for the general public. So that's not going to be a quick, simple, easy process. Having said all of that, interesting times coming in our neighboring state right here. And boy, does this illustrate the need to be continuously changing and relooking at the way you do things and adjusting and growing because everybody else is doing it. Yes, I know we have the phased-in income tax reduction. We're kind of ahead of the curve. We're ahead of Louisiana on this one here in Mississippi. We've already had this discussion. We've already put this into place. I would expect there's a decent chance of something very similar being put into place in Louisiana by the legislature down there in this special session. It's not going to end there, though. And there are some things in there. I'm sorry, it's one thing to talk about, well, nobody's going to move to Iowa from Mississippi because, I mean, Iowa, what? Corn? Here? All of this. So nobody's going to just pick up and move. But moving 15 miles from where you're living right now? Oh, yeah. That's a possibility. 20 miles, 30 miles, whatever. With Louisiana right there, this is impactful. Could be, depending on what they do, if anything, and how they do it. 23 different items. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why can't they handle all this kind of stuff in a regular session? Doesn't a special session cost more money? Taking those questions in reverse order, yes, it does cost to have a special session. As to your question about why couldn't they get this done during a regular session like we did in Mississippi? Well, we actually had some special sessions this past time around, but they were during the regular session. It was just to focus people on what we were trying to do. So there was no extra expense incurred there. Why can't they handle this during the regular business, during the regular session? I don't know.
If you cry out for more,
it's a good question. It's a great question.
I would run
Supreme Court ruled yesterday, by the way, that they're keeping the anti-doping and medication rules for horse racing in place. I know you've been worried about that, so I wanted to go ahead and ease your tensions. Crying out loud. Final break. Let's close it down for a Tuesday next.
Hey, Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer, princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945. 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at supertalkpikecounty.com and through your Alexa devices.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. Even when you miss it the first time, you can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the crave. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Dave Hughes here. Remember, every weekday morning at 9:06, it's Dave in the Morning, where we solve the problems of the world, or at least complain about them, really loudly and sarcastically. And if you miss out, you can catch up with the podcast version of Dave in the Morning at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
Once again,
Closing time.
that bucket of an hour's worth of minutes we're given every morning is now practically empty. But that's okay. We get to do it again tomorrow.
One last call for alcohol, so finish.
Is it too early? Is it too soon to set a timer to go off in 7 days to remind you to vote if you haven't? I don't think the oven timer will go that far. You might have to set an alarm. Just a thought. Have a good day. Stay cool. Stay frosty even. We'll do this again tomorrow morning at 9:06 right here on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. My friend, see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.